All right. Josh Kerr, first CITIUS MAG podcast recording of 2025. First off, Happy New Year, Josh. I'm Here's one thing I'm most curious about. Did you make it at midnight, or does a pro runner go to bed and stick to their normal routine the night on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, happy New Year, mate. Yeah, I thought I'd sneak in as early as possible. I didn't know if you'd, sneak a podcast in before 8 a.m. or I guess 10 a.m. over on the East Coast. But yes, stayed up till midnight and pretty quickly went to bed after that. And yeah, it's the balance, right? It's you got to get the balance right.
This also brings up another thing I've been curious about because we're coming off of the holidays. The famous Sebco like Christmas going out and training twice a day story. Growing up, I guess for you, what did you think of that story? And nowadays it's like, well, double threshold and what everyone's doing, it's like 2 sessions a day is nothing crazy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely grew up listening to those stories. Parents are like, this is what it takes to be the best, you know what I mean? All that stuff. And, I think there was definitely a couple times where I was doing some silly stuff over Christmas, in my early teen years and when I was in the sport, because it's just like, because you just love it, you love, that little edge that you feel like you have and things like that. And so, yeah, didn't do a double run on Christmas, will say that. But did get my run in, and it's the balance. I think this time of year for me and for the family, it's like big family time and focusing on that because I mean everyone works so hard during the year, like try and take these times to enjoy. But yeah, that was a Care household staple was getting out and working hard on Christmas Day. So I think my parents actually did a park run on Christmas, and actually they did a park run on New Year's as well. They just love a park run. I don't know, but they love it.
I think we need to bring park runs over to the States. Like I just hear everything about just, the community and just how even like, Whiteman's doing park runs, Georgia Bell's doing park runs and all that stuff. It's like it's an easy way to connect the running community. It needs to make its way over to the States.
It
I don't know if
does.
they've ever tried, but like no, 100%, especially with this running boom that we're having right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are a couple spotted around the US.
Okay.
Nothing crazy, but I mean, there's probably like 30 park runs within an hour of my parents' house. Like it's that crazy. Like you say, yeah, you've got Whiteman lining up against someone with a baby stroller and someone that's coming hungover from a night out on Halloween. It's just it's crazy how it works, but I think it's one of the best staples in the UK. You get a lot of amazing volunteers that go out and help, and it's you have your little barcode and you go in and you get a race every weekend. So I've ran a lot of park runs in my time growing up, and yeah, I think it needs to be brought over here full time. Yeah.
All right, so we're chatting January 1st. Everyone's been posting recap videos and reels and photo carousels on Instagram from the past year. We obviously did a podcast days after the Paris Olympics and that final. So, that we've kind of touched base on, that epic race. But how do you go back now that you've had months after the fact? How do you reflect on 2024 as a whole and everything that you accomplished from the world indoor gold medal to, the Olympic silver medal? It was a long year, but a very successful one for you.
Yeah, I think, we achieved a lot throughout the year. We learned so much, and that's the biggest thing. Like, what did we learn? Like, what can we work off of? And this is the big thing when in a position where you kind of you miss a title by point, two of a second or whatever it was. Everyone goes, okay, like let's find that point two, and it's just not the reality. It's like, hey, let's find running 327 again on the right day. That's what did we do right, not what did we do wrong. Because we did so much right. Like to be, I mean, all of us, like to be that fit on that day, to win a world championship title in my country, to then, break world records and British records all the way throughout the season, and then make it to the Olympics and run a personal best on the biggest stage. Like, you can't walk away disappointed with that, or else you're just going to hate the sport. You just, I'm happy with how the year went. It wasn't perfect, but when do you ever have a perfect year? And so yeah, we learned loads, and we're just trying to implement that now. To see how far we can push this year. We obviously have the Grand Slam stuff coming up. We have an awesome indoor season coming up, and then we've got World Champs all the way down in September. So yeah, we've got plenty to work for. I think the Olympic hangover, you can't really have that for too long because there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, I guess like everyone, we're the pundits. We talk about how epic that race was. Like it's, making another round of just sort of like people posting it as like the race of the year. How do you think people, this is up to the public, but you yourself will view that Olympic final in the years to come? I mean, obviously, even in the what was it, May or June showdown that you had with the mile at the pre-classic, even going into that race, that was billed as like the mile of the century. It was even like I think thrown around like in the pre-race press conference. And then that Olympic final, everyone had been counting down the days, and for it to play out the way that it did, it had everything, all of the dramatics, the surprise, and you like to your point, everyone showed up fit as hell for that one day that I do think like in the many years to come, like it's going to go down as one of the all-time races. But as one of the people in it, are you already feeling that?
You could feel it in the race, and that's not a very normal feeling. I remember us getting out, and I knew we were going to get out pretty fast. But as soon as the first 100 went off, it was like, this is the loudest stadium like I've ever heard. And like this is the fastest, the loudest, and the most amazing like lineup of athletes. So it's it when you're in it. And then yeah, like you're saying, the drama throughout the year, the way that it was built up, like it could have flopped for sure. Like there was definitely elements in there that we could have, been a bit more cagey, or maybe someone came with a little bit of a niggle somewhere, or yeah, everyone came in full fitness and we all just had a proper battle. And I think that's what I think Grand Slam's going to bring more. I think that's what the sport's looking for. And we were all ourselves throughout the whole process, and I think we can, I personally hold my head pretty high with the result and the effort that we put in throughout the year. And I think it's just the start, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So where are we at now in terms of just sort of like the build up to 2025 and the season ahead? We've got indoors coming up. So we're here with the official announcement that you will be running the Wanamaker Mile, returning back to the mile distance at the Millrose Games this year. So first off, I mean, where's that excitement level of getting back to the mile? You're going up against Yard Goose, so it's a showdown of the last couple champions.
Yes, I have taken a hiatus from the mile for a good couple of years because it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to. I think the last time was against Ollie when Ollie won.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so wait, you
Yeah,
still need to win, right?
I've never won it. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
why
I
I'm
for
doing
some reason, yeah,
it.
I guess I forgot the outclassed moment. Yeah.
Yeah, the outclassed situation. So yeah, I'm bringing as much class as possible. Is the goal. But yeah, I think, I ran the 3K and the 2 mile over the last couple of years, had an absolute blast. It was great from a training perspective, from where we're at. But a big thing after, a big high like the Olympics is like, what are you excited about? What do you want to go out and win? And this is it. Like, I want this Wanamaker title. I don't care if it's in 4 minutes or if it's in 3:45. I want this title pretty bad. And I think it's going to be, when you're throwing in the guys that you're throwing in, it's going to be fast regardless. If you're going to run in New York, it's going to be fast. But I'm going to come in and I'm going to be ready to win. We're 5 weeks out or so, and we're in a great spot. We haven't missed days. We've had a great base of training, and now to implement a little bit more speed stuff in there, and yeah, get sharp for the big one.
How did you and Danny approach sitting down and planning out 2025? Because, you're the reigning world champ, so you get a bye and your spot to the world championships. That puts things a little bit more at ease. And maybe you just have to go run whatever it might be, like an 800 at the British champs or whatever. But it is going to be another long year. The decision to run indoors and then four Grand Slam meets, and then get into the heart of the summer season with Diamond League races. Like, what? How did you and Danny sit down to plan out 2025?
Yeah, it was different to any other year, obviously, because you've got the normally it's like, okay, we have the World Championships or the Olympics. Let's work back from that and see where we're going to be for training, and then maybe put some longer stuff in there and some shorter stuff. But you're then slapping four Grand Slam meets in there right in the middle of the year. So then it's like, okay, do we have time for indoors? Because World Indoors is end of March, and then the first Grand Slam start of April, like this. And now you're looking at Diamond League dates versus Grand Slam dates, and so that's the way we worked it is just you put the World Championships here, you put your Grand Slam here, and then say what can we sneak in indoors because I want to race and I want to spend too long without standing on a start line. But it's also I don't want to race just the race. I want to be fit. I want to be ready to go and win big races. So yeah, Milrose was a staple for me. It's always been a staple for me. I love going to get paid to go and run in New York. Like it's just this is the dream. And so you will have a big group going over there, and then it kind of gets a little bit foggy for a bit. So we're not sure after that, like how the body's going to come off of that. Maybe we'll run something else indoors or world indoors. I think I have to buy into that as well. So it's we're really focused on the Grand Slam, and so we don't want to get that wrong. But we do want to bring the heat when it comes to indoors if we're going to run it. So yeah, that's where we're at really. It's kind of a fluid indoor schedule. I'll run the four Grand Slams, and then there's a couple Diamond Leagues I've got my eye on. And then from there I'll probably just, build up into the World Championships like I normally do.
All right, so this is going to be like the newsy nugget that maybe people pick up on. So where are you at on defending the world indoor title? Like what odds would you give it of possibly running? I know like it just even from speaking to a couple other athletes, there's people who will run like their national championships indoors. And if they even qualify, it's just, it's all the way out in China. And especially for some of you guys like who are going to be running Grand Slam, they're just like so soon. So like what percentage do you and Danny probably give defending the world indoor title?
That's a great question. The best way to describe that is the exact same odds as last year. It's probably as we're in the same spot where it's like, oh, well, like the Olympics, and then like we're not sure, but then it was in Scotland, so it was like the odds are way higher. I would say it's in China, so the odds are lower, but we probably can sneak it. So I would say Danny's lower than me. I'm an optimist. I would love to be there, but yeah, I would say similar odds to last year.
All right. So you decided to pass on running the San Diego Holiday half this year. What
Tough.
went into that decision? You're shaking your head like it's out. It looks like you wanted to do it.
I was betrayed, Chris. I was betrayed. A bunch like all my teammates. We have a good squad of kind of the longer group as well as our 800 guys, but we had a squad to do it, but they all decided to run club cross the week prior or maybe the week off. And then I was like, well, not to diss on the holiday half, but there sometimes it's a bit ropey how many people are there at the highest level. And so I didn't want to run 13.1 miles on my own. So I had to take a pivot on that one. So they didn't quite let me into US cross, but I ended up running an 8K time trial in Seattle. And so we have some footage of it. We're going to release some of it. I think before Milrose, it went really well. The guys were out helping me, and we were able to to squeeze it out. We did one in 2020, and so that like after that we started doing like the half and proper road races and stuff. But yeah, just a time trial solo this time.
All right, so I'll let you keep the, final time of that 8K time trial for your YouTube channel, which I encourage people to go and subscribe to. But describe, I guess, like what was the setup? It was 8K
Yeah.
on the track?
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
okay, so the yeah, that's fair. It's a weird distance, but I ran a 5 or like a 3 mile on the track at 4:30s on Thanksgiving, just for like a little bit. Like some people do their turkey trots and stuff like that, but I was in Albuquerque, so I was like, I'm here with the family and stuff. I'll just go down to the track and just bosh this out. So I ran, yeah, I averaged like 4:30, 4:31. And Danny was like, all right, well, why don't we try and run a 10K at a similar pace? And so I was like, well, that seems far. So down at sea level, let's try and do something a little bit longer than that, but like a similar pace, maybe a little bit quicker. So that was the idea behind it. AK is a lot of laps, man. It wasn't fun. Actually, it was fun. That's a lie. I did have a good time. My teammates helped a lot. I was able to snack throughout. I had a couple of gels, and we had a good time. But that was the 20th of December, and so we're now 10 days past that, and so we're just training, just getting the work in at the moment. My fiance is working over Christmas. She's a resident dermatologist, so she doesn't get much time off around the holidays, and so we're in Albuquerque at the moment, and I'm pretty much doing my training camp start up probably like 3 weeks before the team get here, so.
Funny side note then. I mean, this is if people have been listening to you on this podcast for a couple years now, like you've been throwing around the word fiance for years now. What's the status of the wedding? I saw when I saw you in
People
Paris,
rush
you were
this.
like, all
People
right.
rush this stage, man. It's a great stage. Yes, we are planning on getting married this year, or yeah, this year now. We were planning on getting married last year, but it was an Olympic year. She did her first year of residency in Florida, and so we were completely opposite. And I was, we weren't enjoying the wedding planning, so we were just like, you know what, let's just push it another year. Why not go full Olympic cycle on this fiance thing? And we're having a blast with it, to be honest. But yes, we're very excited to be together a lot more and planning our wedding for 2025. 2025 is a great year to have a
It's a
wedding, I
good one.
feel like.
Yeah. As someone who just got married a couple of months
I
ago,
was going to
what's
say
your
you took
biggest
the
con
thunder of 2024 getting married, mate. So we had to
Yeah,
move it a year.
exactly. As someone who just got married a couple of months ago, what is your biggest contribution to the wedding planning? Because I could tell you, like, you definitely leave a lot of the big decisions to her.
Yes. No, I'm very involved in the food.
Okay.
The venue, we have the venue. That was I was part of that a lot. But like the style and the all
You
that
just
other
nod your
stuff.
head and say yes. Like that
Yeah, that's
sounds
she's amazing at all that stuff. And so, let's stay in our lanes here, I think, is kind of the overall of it.
I love that. All right. Back to some track. Milrose. Um, do you still get nervous or before any of these races? Like what do you ultimately want to get out of a race like Milrose when you setting yourself up for, Grand Slam, you'll be running the 8, the 15 a bunch because, it's throwing yourself into the fire. Yared is not an easy competitor. I'm sure you just want to continue to beat him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, you've got the first race of the season is always a little bit. I'll probably open up there. It's always a little bit like the nerves are a bit more, I think, just because you don't really know where you're at. You've done a couple sessions that are indicating, okay, like, and we know what we're doing, but yeah, I love it. Like I love going out and competing against the best guys, and it gets me up and it gets me working every day, and that's why I sign up for these races so far in advance. I mean, last year we announced the 2 mile world record like a good like 2.5 months out, and I was like, I'm nowhere near fit enough to run this, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna try. And so now, 5 weeks out, I can confidently say that we're gonna be ready to go. And so yeah, I love it. I love that people are going to be tuning in to go out and watch it, and that when me and Yard are going to be standing on the start line, it's not going to be a boring race. There's going to be some drama in there. We're going to go toe to toe and go after it. So yeah, I think we do have a longer season with lots more 800s and stuff like that, but why I guess we're getting paid overtime for it, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2025 feels like the year that we should stop the focus on times as much, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm like hesitant on asking it, but like the mile world record for indoors, right? It feels like it doesn't need to be something that's like, oh yeah, Yared and Josh say that they're going to go after the indoor mile record, but it could just be a byproduct of the two of you racing really hard in New York, right? Like, what is it that you've picked up on from racing Yared so many times over the last couple of years in terms of just the way that he races? Because I ultimately feel like let's make this the year that we focus more on like this competition going head to head a bunch.
Yeah, these times will come, especially the indoor mile record. Like it's the outdoor mile record versus the indoor one there's a big difference, and so you can definitely trip upon this one if the race is right, and and we've got the right pacing early, and everyone's kind of eager to get after it, and I think people will be because it's the first race of the season, really, or one of the first races of the season. So some people are going to be coming in fit, and some people are kind of maybe going to be dragging some stuff in, but I think it's going to be a great balance. But what I've learned from Yard really is just the guy just will not turn up to a race not willing to, not ready to win. There's no the Olympics was fun. I took some time off, and like, I'm not really up for it kind of thing. He's just like, he's there, he's ready to go and compete, and he's always kind of around the win or winning a race. So, I'm ready to go head to head with that, and I know what I'm going to be up against. So, he's won before, but I think it's my time to lift that big ass trophy after the last event of the meet.
Yeah, would be nice for you to drink something out of that trophy, even though we got Ollie sick, I think, after he did that last time. But you
You
did,
taking
yeah,
responsibility for that, are
yeah.
you? Nice.
All right, but like in a more tactical, track nerdy, specific, we're 1500 fanatics here. Stylistically, how does Yared run the 1500 different from you that works for him? Because what we see at the Olympics is when Jakob presses from the front, like you're glued to him, and Yared is always kind of a little bit further back, but in within striking distance, and he has that close. So where do you two differ in the way that you guys run the 1500?
That's a phenomenal question, and I haven't really thought about it too much, but I've also thought about it so much, so I don't really know. He's such an anomaly. Like sometimes he decides that he doesn't have a kick and he'll press hard from the front, but he's also one of the best closers because of his strength, not really his speed. Like it's very difficult to drop him, I think, is the big thing. He's always just kicking about, and so you kind of have to outstrength him a little bit, or maybe like I would say I'm normally going to be pushing from 600 out, and from there I feel pretty confident that I'll be able to close. But I think like watching the US final is a great example of him versus like Cole, or him versus kind of me at pre. That's the kind of tactical differences. He is never scared of taking it on. I think it being fast kind of takes out the majority of the competition because he's one of the faster 15 guys. So I think for Milrose, the way that looks is just who's sitting off the pacer. Obviously we don't know what the pace will be. I'm sure it'll be something pretty quick. And we'll discuss that kind of closer to the time. That's normally how it works. Is a couple of days before we'll get a text from Ray like what we're looking at here, and I think that's kind of how it'll break down. But for me, indoors is slightly different. I was able to get the better of him at World Indoors, but I'm sure we probably close similar. So a lot of it's tactical, making sure you're taking the lead at the right time, and those tight bends are difficult to get around, especially if you're a slightly larger man like myself.
Yeah, because had the Olympics been 10 meters longer, I don't know, man. I think he would have got you.
Yeah, no, definitely. He would have done for sure. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. And I was just trying to get to the line. And so, I think with 50 to go, I was like, momentum's not in my favor right now. And so I was just like, keep everything together, get to the line. And I didn't feel him on my outside, but I would never have slowed down. Like, when you're in an Olympic final spot, you're never going to look around and slow down. But I think with 150 to go, I think we could all feel there was a little group of us that were ready to go after it. And I was, that took the sting out of it a little bit. Having a bronze medal already, if I'd come back with another bronze, that would have stung for sure. So having two out of the three from a set point of view makes a nice storyline for this build up. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, okay. So as people have been rewatching the Olympic final, and Cole obviously gets a lot of credit for, how he closed out that race. He gets a ton of credit for that final 100 meters where, obviously he had like a little bit of that stutter and then makes the move on the inside. And the way I guess the narrative has gone about is that you and Jakob were obviously like very focused on each other and veering off and creating that opening, gave Cole that opportunity. What's your sort of like if we're, pulling in all the characters from that race to tell the story of that 1500-meter final? When you watch that clip of the opening happening for Cole, what is your sort of side to that story when people say like, "Oh yeah, Josh was just too distracted with Jakob," and is give me your side.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think so. This is whatever was going to build into the me and Jakob narrative was always going to be what people want to stick on to. What I think won Cole that race um, was his first 400, to be honest,
Really?
because
Okay.
we all got out pretty hard, and he was a little bit further back, and so he was able to have I think, a slightly more balanced first 800, and I think that's what kind of gave him a bit more juice at the end. It would probably be my analysis. My other analysis is anyone like no one who's ran 327 has ever said this, but like anyone that stutters and then goes again and runs 327 and a half is fit enough to win that race. Fit enough to win most races. All right. So, the narrative was that, Jakob didn't want me to win so badly that he opened up this gap and let someone else win instead. And that's a great narrative that I'm okay with everyone taking. I'm all right with that. But what I was trying to do, when he came out, I slowed down so he would close the door back on Cole because I could see Cole was sprightly somehow. And I was like, I just need to wait till 100 because normally you wouldn't veer out again. And so I kind of held back a little bit, went again. And then with, 75, 50 to go, I was like, the momentum's not here. Let's get to the line as quickly as possible. And so then Cole was coming on the inside. I felt like that. And I was like, okay, get to the line. And then, but I mean, damn, that was the hardest. I mean, we were running so hard. And so it was one of those achievement races where the sting was taken off with running the British record. That was something I've wanted for about 6 years. Well, more than that, but going after that for 6 years. And then, you get beaten by someone that's ran, he just did a massive PB and ran the race of his life. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not here. I'm not winning at all costs. I'm like, can I be the best I've ever been in the final of an Olympic Games? Yeah. And I did that. And let's move on and try and do it again. I've done that for my whole career. I've ran a personal best or season's best in every major final that I've been in the last 6 years. And that's just what we do. And sometimes you win it, and sometimes, you gotta walk away with your head held high and go back and work on things because it's not over. Like that's not going to define my career. I think it's going to be a stepping stone in there, and it's another medal in my safe. And we're going to go out and go after some more. So I have a lot of respect for those guys that went out and PB'd and did their job, and put on a race of a lifetime. And now it's, how can I go out and beat them more and more often in the big days?
Yeah, and I think I asked this to Grant Fisher, where it's like, if no one ever tells you like this is going to be your lifetime PB like, and you don't know, because like the selfish part of any elite athlete is that you just always want to get faster and improve upon your best performance. But if, it's 60-year-old Josh Kerr sitting on in a rocking chair and someone said that race would have been is like your PR, like how would you feel about it? Like it sounds like you're just like, yeah, I mean, like I'm happy with how that race turned out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know 327 was possible personally. Like, I always thought 328 was probably the limit of a clean athlete. I was like, for when I was younger, I was like, 328 is a nice run number. Like, we can get there. And now Guruj thinks he can run fucking 320. So, no idea what's going on there. But, for me, it's like, I, if you've ran 2 rounds and then you get thrown into a final without a pacer, um, it's there's more there. There's a lot more going on in your head than running a fast time in an Olympic final. So, we didn't run all that fast in the first round. I think we ran 332 or something in the second round. It's 5 days of competition and you're living on a cardboard bed. So, you've got to think in ideal conditions if you're going to give us some Kipchoge sub 2 efforts that we can run a little bit faster. So I do think that will not be my PB for the rest of my career. I think I will, hopefully, in my career, have an attempt at the world record. Like Josh is going after the world record today. Attempt, but I don't see that happening this year, to be honest. Like you're saying, like this is a year competition. It's not the year of going after fast times. Maybe 2026 is probably a little bit more realistic. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, I think. But 327 is it's pretty quick. It felt quick at the time, but maybe college kids will probably be running that next week. You never know.
Yeah. So all right, for like the Josh is gonna give it a go for the world record. I know, there's been obviously like the beef and all that stuff with you and Jakob that has been out there. But is that something that you would welcome, and you thrive off of like the competition of having guys like that in a race where it in the way that you envision this, right? Like, because you're obviously thinking about it. Would you be like, all right, yeah, it's Josh is going after the world record, but also like Jakob is in the race and Cole is in the race and Yared is in the race. Like, let's give this a proper go, and like the best man comes out on top with like we're gonna get the best pacers. Like, let's throw Marco Arop to take us through, the K or whatever might be. But yeah, I mean, like, it feels like you would need someone else to rival you to get the best out of you there.
Yeah, I mean that's
But
true.
then,
There's
I remember BU, and like when you went out there and just like ran that crazy race, like you
BU's
didn't.
fake, man. I was never fit enough to run that. We should just run everything at BU.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a great question. I think all of us have different sponsors, and none of them are from the UK, so I don't see us collaborating in any event
Yeah.
moving forward. But there's definitely people on the circuit that don't want other people in certain races. But I would be fine if I was to do it. I'd probably do it in London. I think that would make the most sense because it's a fast track. It's an amazing atmosphere. It's in the UK. Like that would be really fun. But I don't know. We genuinely haven't like built it out. But I just think getting there is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Getting to if I was in the shape I was in for the Olympics, we wouldn't have been that far off. And now I know that 1.5 seconds is a lot, but I mean, with all the factors taken into place, we wouldn't have been that far off, I don't think. We would have been 3:26 something, I'm sure, if not a touch faster. So, when you're around a second off, like it is a long time, but it's also if you can get the conditions right and everything right, I think we would just have to, yeah, get good pacers or, like sit on Grant Fisher for like mile and a half, 1.75, and then just kick. That would be the ideal situation.
Um, all right. So in talking about Grand Slam, you're gonna have to run. You did run a handful of 800s this year, but you're gonna have to run some quick ones, I think. Marco's ready to drag some bodies into deep waters, and at the same time, I haven't put out the episode yet, but when I saw him at the summit, he said he believes he can run under 330 in a proper 1500, which would put him in good contention for some of these, the $100,000 payday at the end of a weekend. How are you thinking of these 800s? Because your PB is still standing from 2019, right? 145?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm bringing the 15 boys up into the 145s. We don't look good. I'm gonna throw that one out there. We don't look good on paper, and that's okay. But Marco coming out and saying that he wants to run a 330 is the cutest thing that I've ever seen. It's so cute. He's so nice about it. But he's gonna have to use his head. He's gonna have to use his brain. It's not, let's switch the brain off and run 2 laps as fast as possible. There's so much more to a 15. That, if you can run 330, that's fine. Loads of people in the world can run 330. But it's can you like know what's going on? Can you get the splits right? Can you make your move at the right time? Do you go out fast? Do you go out slower? Like I think that's the part where he's probably not going to get right early, but he'll learn over the Grand Slam meets. But I'm not sure. I'm there to win all of them. I think I can win all of them. I think I'm the best 800, 1500 balance between all four of us. I have the best 800-meter group in the world that are right next to me every day. And I've been picking their brain ever since I signed up to the league. Um, you know, Brandon Miller is probably the most talented runner I've ever ran with, but he's trying to teach me how to run an 800 properly. Zay trying to reach me. Like these guys, like they know what they're doing. And so I'm learning. I'm doing what I can. And we obviously can run a lot faster than 145, but is that what it's going to look like? We've been analyzing Marco a little bit, so we know what we're getting into, but if I'm sitting behind him and we go 1-2, can he get second in the 1500? No, I don't think so. So then you just got to be as close as possible early. And but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what kind of finish he comes in. He's ran that half, it's a great women's half marathon for sure. We're all proud of him, and we're gonna go from there. So yeah, no, he's working hard, and I think we're gonna have a blast going to all the different meets.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is like when you see him he's taking a page out of your playbook by running a random half marathon. But yeah, and it looked good. I mean, the dude doesn't run more than 30 miles a week, but also you're somewhat still similar in that range, right?
Yeah, I mean, I run 65 to
Okay,
70.
yeah, you've bumped it up.
So
Yeah.
I'm up there. It is a good it is a good half. But he told me about it at the Grand Slam Summit. Like he's like, yeah, like I'm gonna run a half, and I was like, there's not a chance he actually does this. But I think he told me he wanted to break 75. So him running, was it 70? He ran 70, right?
Yeah, it was 70 or 71, yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, no, I think anyone that wants to work on a weakness, I think is they're gonna get better. So it's pretty cool to see. I think it's he's one of the nicest guys, but I'm gonna poke fun at him every single time for sure. And it's gonna be a blast. We're going on a bloody world tour at this point, I think. So we're all gonna have to get along at some points, but we'll see how that first meet looks, and I'm excited to come out and have an absolute blast. I think it's gonna be like I'm so pumped. Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm really really excited about for outdoors, and we'll get the Diamond Leagues in kind of near the end of the season, but. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
All right, so obviously Jakob didn't sign up to be a racer in the league. He can enter as a challenger, right? If it fits his schedule. And, I listened to the Coffee Club episode where Ollie explained like what Jakob's kind of hesitations were on joining. He didn't want to spend this much time in the States, even though I feel like he does like a long block in Flagstaff anyway. And then, just the schedule of it. Do you want to see him as a challenger in your group? Would you? I know that there's like the flexibility, and Cole has even said, maybe at one of the slams he'll give the 3K, 5K one a goal. Would you be open to meeting him at that distance as well, or how are you feeling about his decision not to partake in the league's first year, at least like as a racer?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see who's signed up and who hasn't, to be honest. I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes with that, with agents and diamond leagues and schedules and where you live, and there is a lot going on. But this is the future of track and field. It's just a fact. I don't think it's always going to be so many meets in the US. I would hope there's going to be kind of one in Europe next year, but we'll see. I think it's smart that he didn't sign up, to be honest. Like in any non-paced race, he hasn't won in the last couple of years. And so you're going to throw him in a bunch of non-paced races. It seems silly to do that. It's going to expose kind of most of his tactical stuff. And if he was in the 8:15 group, watching him run the 8 would be, I don't know, it'd be like, a deer on ice. I don't know. I don't know. I just I don't think so. I think he would come in and run the 3K, 5K. Would I go up to 3K, 5K? Listen, if you think 145 is bad, 13:23 ain't looking too sexy these days. So not too sure with that one, but I'll probably go up at some point. Yeah, I'll probably go up at some point. Maybe not in this year, but I've been given the option, and so it depends who kind of comes in as challengers, to be honest, because I wouldn't want to see anyone else win my event. So I think I'll stick to that for just now. And yeah, I would love for him to come in and run an 800 and 1500. I think it would be hilarious.
Do you think Hobbs Kessler can steal your money? Like, I look at him as the potential, even when Yoni, like, people forget he's the world road running mile champion and beat Hobbs in that race. Or yeah, or whatever. I think he
Yeah.
has the world record in it. Uh, I mean, these guys, they're going to be out. Here's one thing, and for the people who are listening to this thing, yes, you're one of the racers, and I think like it's great to create fans around like these athletes who have signed up around the league. I also think that there should be a faction of fans who are out there who are just like the challenger fans and like are rooting actively against the racers that hey, like I'm just rooting for the challengers to steal the money at every one of these slams. And I look at someone like Hobbs Kessler as like he's the poster boy child for the guy who's going to come in and possibly try and rob a bunch of people because I think in the whole entire Olympics, he's the only guy who made both finals, I think, in the 8 and the 15.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I mean, between him, Whiteman, Neil Gurley, like we have a lot of guys that can run both really well. But there's not going to be any pacers. It's going to be straight up racing, and I think that's what the Brits are really good at.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that one out there because our trials are slightly different to the US trials where we're not getting it slapped along on the NBC and all this stuff. Like we're just kind of out in the back garden kind of running against each other in the wind and the rain. And so we've ran these 15s and 8s this is what it's going to look like. We know what we're doing, and as long as I stay on my feet, I should be all right. And so yeah, these guys. I mean, look, I think that's what's exciting about it. You know, Hobbs is a phenomenal 800, 1500 meter runner, but evidently not phenomenal enough to sign up as a challenger. So, or as a racer. So, I'm excited for them to come in and get treated the way that they should be treated as athletes and come out and try and beat us. But yeah, I don't see me losing many of those. I feel like I'm the best at it. So I'm excited. I think it will be the first one, especially, it's going to be in Kingston. We're all going to be flying over there and hopefully putting on a show. That's the goal.
Yeah, less than 100 days away, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
What do you ultimately hope that, these four cracks at the 800 will do for your 1500 and setting you up for your world title defense? Because as we saw in Paris, like, and maybe it was more of a kamikaze like move by Jakob to take it out so damn hard, but like you have to be even 800 fit, to hang with the big boys in the 1500. Like, and the way that the championships have been run over the last couple of years, like that strength and that speed, I mean, it's you have to nail that combination.
Yeah, it's a really big blend. And you can learn so much from racing 800s as well. Just more racing experience. Kind of we're getting closer to that 800 type of race at this point where it's just like hard, head down, don't think. You just kind of got to, brace the storm a little bit and then go from there. But I've wanted to run more 800s for a while, but it's just kind of never really worked out in the schedule. I was racing very minimally, and it's because, we start these cycles and we're like, okay, let's figure out what works. Like, oh, like racing, not that much kind of works for me. I'm really good at, coming in, doing the job, going back, get a camp in, going in, doing the job, come back. And now it's like a new Olympic cycle. It's okay, like maybe we can like put these races together back to back and go out and get more experience, and maybe that'll make you even better at World Championship or an Olympic Games. So that's what we're trying out now. Is we're going to be out there a lot more and putting the races together, and trying to go back to back with a lot of the stuff. And that's kind of how a lot of people you'll see. A lot of people will be leaving their sponsors. A lot of people will be moving, coaching and starting a new thing and leaving the sport and coming into the sport. So yeah, for me, it's like, okay, well, I think I can slightly change my approach to racing, and let's see how it works. We're kind of in a analysis and data collection, point in this next cycle, and that it starts with just racing a little bit more and seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a clip of you saying it somewhere about how like this upcoming year, 2025, it's like you're throwing more caution, I guess, like to the wind, where it's like it's not that you're being totally reckless in terms of just like totally upending, the blueprint that got you to be world champion, Olympic, medalist, but I guess like there is something to, I guess for you guys, what that means is just putting more races on the schedule. It's like maybe that's like the flack you've caught in the last couple of years, like Josh doesn't race enough, and that, and you've always said that you were just so meticulous about like when you show up, like it's for a purpose, and knowing how that you were going to throw down something fast or big. And so this time around, like there's just you're willing to take more risks, it seems like. And like if that means like we're working through things in a very public setting, then that's fine.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the spot where, we've done a lot, we've achieved a lot, but it's, I'm still really, really excited to go out and race and put performances together that, I can be proud of, we can be proud of. And yeah, I mean, look, every single person in this sport gets so much shit behind the scenes. Like, all comment, like if you look at anyone's Instagram comments or YouTube comments or, like the message board comments, I mean, I think Sydney's like the best example of this. Like, she's won everything and she's ran world records and has had like perfect seasons and is an amazing person and great in interviews. And everyone's like, no, she sucks. Like, she doesn't race enough. And it's like, and that's when I think I realized, like, I was like, I'm not here to please anyone. Like, no one is ever going to be happy. And so I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to go out and listen to the coaching staff that I think can get us to the top of the world, and I'm going to talk in interviews the way that I want to talk. And I think that's all you can do is be authentic, and then just kind of take the comments on the chin and move on from there. And for us, yeah, it was like, oh, Josh isn't racing enough. He never races enough. And to be fair, there's some validity in that. I didn't run a 1500 before the Olympic Games. That's doesn't sound like it's smart for sure. But when you do something every day, you know what you're doing. And we knew how to run a 1500. We ran a mile, that was enough. And we ran some stuff indoors and stuff. But yeah, this is how we're kind of pivoting a little bit. It's like, what can we do to keep the excitement going and going out and make some fast races that people want to watch?
But then also just sort of like, to your point about just like the critics and all that kind of stuff, like let's treat this like a professional sport. You know how like small like all of that in the grand scheme is like in track compared to the amount of flack these soccer players, these NFL players like get of over performances. Like when we talk about just sort of, and this is, a conversation I've had with Mac and Kyle a bunch of just is track ready for like the mainstream, and like we're at this precipice of just like, yeah, there's a lot of momentum coming off of the Olympics, new things in the sport, but part of it is like the athletes also have to be, and I think like you're a great example there of just what you said, where it's like, yeah, just continue to be yourself and tune out everyone else, because like if this was treated like any other professional sport, it would be 100x what the noise is in these other sports. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to you, because it is, yeah, I mean, like it should be treated that way. And hopefully in 2025, we're going to see a bit more of that. Like to the point, like I hope are fans that are rooting against you. And yeah, you've got probably Norway feeling that way in the last couple of years, but let's,
You'd be surprised, Chris. I get a lot of messages from Norwegian fans.
really?
Yeah, more than you'd think. A lot of Norwegians are definitely on the fence about some things. So, I think maybe there's some Nordas fans out there that, love it. But Norwegian media, that's the one that you got to keep your eye on. That's all I'll say. Norwegian media.
Oh, all right. Final thing. Clear this one up, because it was one of the things that happened during the Olympics. What did Nordas say to you after the first round or semifinal, right? Like everyone kind of made a big deal about like saying like you can beat him or something like that. And it was weird because it's like, dude, you're also in the race. Like, why don't you just go out and do it? It was like a
Yeah.
concession before anything had happened. But did he say something to you?
Oh, yeah. So obviously coming into these big events, I don't run the social media, like my social media platform. So I had finished the race and, we had spoken. And then, I was back, with everyone, my family and coaching staff and stuff. And they said that they were like, "What did Nordas say to you?" kind of thing. Or did he say X to you? And I was like, "Well, how did you know that?" And they were like, "Oh, people were like, I don't know how. I still don't. I didn't really look back at it,
Well,
but
we put up a quote graphic because we saw it somewhere as well, and I don't know, like it made rounds in Norwegian media, and so then like we also kind of aggregated the whole thing. But yeah, then it was like something got cleared up. But what exactly did he say?
um, I, I don't really remember. But what I would say is whatever was written was pretty highly accurate.
All right.
Because I remember them saying like, "Why, did he say that?" Or like, "Why did he say that?" And I was like, "How do you guys know what he said to me in a private conversation on the track?" So I don't know who was lip reading that, but pretty solid effort from them. Modas is great. I love him. I think he's brilliant. He just roots for winners, man. And I think he had obviously a great effort back in 2023, getting his first medal, and he's a strength runner. So yeah, we're good pals.
All right. Final thing for you, Josh. Hit me with the New Year's resolutions for 2025. I feel like it's easy. It's sweep the slams and defend the world title.
Yeah, have a perfect year would be nice, but I'm very much focused on the slimes. Get the slimes right. I think a lot of it needs to come from analysis because there's going to be so much going on in there that we need to get right. But you sweep the slams for sure. And yeah, I think yeah, retain that title. It's so easy to say, but it's also what it is I want to run a PB in the World Championship final. How about that? Whatever that ends up being, we got to walk away proud with that. But I can't see that not winning.
When everyone made the big deal about after the 2016 Olympics being like, all right, the finals are never going to be run this way. And we kind of saw that over the last couple of years. It's just sort of like everything's gotten faster. I mean, in even the last Olympic cycle, how do you summarize like the way that the 1500 meters has changed? Because when we look at what happened in the 800, like especially this past year, it's a
Yeah,
sprint now, right? For a minute and 41 seconds, and could
yeah,
soon be 100 seconds, right? But the 1500 itself, like when you say that's after 3 rounds, you're saying like having that fitness, and also someone's got to essentially fall on the sword and make it fast, right? Like
yeah.
it's you don't have a pacer. 327 is really fast, and so to try and run that after 3 rounds, like what is it about the 1500 that's changed?
I think that's a great question. I would say that the things that I've seen that have changed would be to be one of the best or seen as one of the best 1500-meter runners in the world. I think there's a difference between being a world champion and being the best in the world at that time. Being the best in the world, you have to win these diamond leagues as of right now. And to win these diamond leagues, you have to run under 330. And if you can run under 330, then you're going to be in these events. I think, since kind of Chariot, it's kind of been moving along a little bit from there. And people realize like if we run fast, it's kind of going to weed out most people. And so the best is always going to win. And then that's kind of a numbers game, really, when you're playing that way. But, you know, I would say there's 5 people, 6 people in the world that can claim they're one of the best 1500 meter runners in the world right now. And so coming in, there's a lot of egos. There's a lot of like, I'm the guy. Everyone has their own title right now, pretty much. And so there's that going on as well. I think before it was a little bit more kind of cagey. I would say it's pretty nerve-wracking, obviously, to run an Olympic final. And so if you're the best by a good bit, like you can be cagey if you'd like. It's a bit riskier, I would say. But you kind of follow on what the best are doing, and the best are running fast right now. And so that's kind of where we're at. And there's so many people in such a small little bubble that you want to take the variables into your own hands versus kind of rolling the dice with it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, we're living in the best time of the 1500, and it's cool that you're one of the main characters in
I'm
all of
having a
that.
good time.
Josh, I appreciate you doing this. We'll be seeing a lot of each other in 2025, both Milrose, the Slams in Tokyo. So we're going to be on our own world tour as well.
Love
Uh,
it.
Josh, I appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a blast. And, no better way to start the year off, I guess.